Cafe owner surprisingly offers a job to a homeless man who returns the favor in a strange manner. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe to m&rtv and hit the bell so you never miss any upload from us. Also, leave a like right now. In today's world, when doing good for others, one should be well prepared for the bitter reality that most probably no one else is going to do the same thing for them. He was a stranger, and she was just another person minding her own business. She took one unusual step of inviting a homeless man in, and that changed everything for her a couple of weeks later. What she didn't realize at the moment was that it was going to become the turning point for her. Was it safe? Should we trust anyone like that? Was it going to be a blessing or a curse? Remember our highly energetic Monica Geller from Friends? That's exactly how Cesia was, especially for her work. Cesia Abigail, a beautiful, independent woman, always believed in hard work and patience. The majority of the world population lives an imperfect and unhappy life. Honestly, how many of us actually live a satisfactory life? Well, Cesia wasn't any different from the rest of us, yet there was one thing about her that made her stand out of the crowd. No matter how bad her situations were, she was always smiling. Cesia had this determination to succeed and make it big in life, but there was one little problem. She was one of those people who couldn't work according to others for too long. The only thing she could do was to plan for the time when she could do something that will be completely hers. For that, she has been saving for quite a long time now. Since a very young age, she had this dream of starting up her own business. But that's something much riskier than the regular jobs, isn't it? It's the kind of risk that stops many people from living their dream. However, Cesia was all set to take the risk of a lifetime, and she chose the business that she enjoyed the most, a restaurant. She started a cafe of her own. Although it was a great reason to be happy, the struggle just knocked at her door. She started her own Salvadorian restaurant, and it was a dream come true, but not for too long. Cesia started her own restaurant with the name of Abby's Cafe, which was located near Minneapolis's Lake Street. With new business comes new struggles too. Her business wasn't even close to what she thought it would be. She invested all that she had in this business, and not seeing it to fulfill her expectations was stressing. That cafe was her happy place. The customers loved not only the food but Cesia's amazing services. Whether someone visited her cafe for the first time or 10th time, she greeted everyone as her family. Her customers were an important part of her life, and it showed in her work. She looked like a happy soul, but as they suggest, one should never be judged by face. For Cesia, her business meant everything, and she had high hopes from it. Sadly, the profit was not enough to survive. Despite all her efforts, the profit levels weren't increasing. She worked twice as hard as a regular job would take. She used to reach early, work more, and leave late. Every day she reached home completely drained out. One day, Cesia took orders from all the customers, told them that she'll be returning with their orders right away, and went into the kitchen area. That's when everyone turned to look at one face by the door. Almost all of them looked at him suspiciously. What was it about this person that alarmed the customers? It was almost the closing hours, and Cesia had a lot to do before she could even think of heading home. So she was hurrying inside to wrap up, as she never kept the customers waiting. She didn't have even the slightest of an idea about the fact that someone was waiting especially for her. One fine day, while Cesia was in the kitchen area, a stranger walked in Abby's cafe. Instead of looking for a fine place to sit, he stood by the door. This made it clear that he wasn't a customer. Then what was he there for? As Cesia walked out of the kitchen with the order, she looked at the stranger, and this was enough to make the already exhausted lady angry. She placed the orders on the respective tables and asked if they needed anything else. As soon as she turned toward the stranger to ask what he was doing here, she realized that she has seen him before, but where? He was a homeless man who used to live on the nearby streets. Cesia had seen him a couple of times while on her way to the cafe. She didn't have any time for all this. She was quite sure that he was there to ask for money, and Cesia didn't support such people, nor did she have enough time to deal with him. She thought that ignoring him would be the right thing to do. Cesia, who herself was struggling to earn enough, had no time for freeloaders. Thinking that the homeless man would walk away, Cesia ignored the person and went to the cash counter. Well, this made the man assume that she'll be offering him something. A couple of minutes later, Cesia checked on the door, and guess what? The man was still standing there, waiting for Cesia to return. Now she knew she couldn't ignore him anymore. She was supposed to act on it, and in such a way that the man would never return to waste her time. But who knew soon this man will become a life changer for Cesia. Cesia didn't want to get into an argument, not even a waste conversation. So she went and said, "You know, nothing is given to me for free, right?" And the man nodded. Cesia's guess was right, and the man was looking for a few bucks, which she never would give him. This whole conversation was about to end unexpectedly. Cesia anyway asked him why he was even begging for money when he should be working. It wasn't like he was disabled and could get a fine job to earn for himself. The man had an answer to her question, which was quite common among people living on the streets, but this time Cesia would be doing something she never did before. His name was Marcus, and he said, "Well, I have a lot of felonies and no one wants to hire me for that. So now I have to turn myself to the streets and get money the only way I know, stealing and asking for money." This happens a lot, and Cesia was aware of it, so she decided to act upon it. But how could she act upon it? What could she possibly do? Cesia didn't have any money to hire a full-time helper, but a thought crossed her mind that she could certainly use some help. Cesia was thinking to make an offer to Marcus. Was trusting a homeless man the right thing to do, especially when he himself admitted that he had been in and out of prison quite a few times? After listening to Marcus's reasoning, Cesia asked, "You want a job?" She further added, "Then I have one for you." She was trying to lessen her burden and give the man one fair chance toward a better life. However, a week later, this man will be doing something that Cesia will never forget throughout her life. As soon as Cesia offered Marcus the job of washing dishes, he immediately agreed to it and said, "I will do anything for food." Cesia later recalled, while posting about this incident on Facebook, his eyes opened wide and his smile made my day. Wondering what made Cesia post it on Facebook, something surprising from Marcus's end. Marcus washed his hands right away and went inside to wash the dishes. As Marcus cleaned the dishes and the kitchen, Cesia made a special sandwich for him. After he was done, Cesia gave him the sandwich, which he divided into 2 pieces and packed one piece in foil before he left the cafe. Cesia was curious to see what he will be doing with the other half of the sandwich. Cesia stood behind the door to see what will Marcus do with the sandwich. She saw him crossing the road and handing over the sandwich to a lady sitting at the corner of the street. Later, Cesia remembered, "I said, 'Marcus, do you know the lady over there?' And he said, 'No, but I know that she is hungry, so I gave her my food.' That really touched me." Marcus's kind-hearted deed won Cesia's heart. He came into her life when she was desperately in need of some hope. A lot of people are saying I've been a blessing for him, but at that point, I was the one who needed a blessing, told Cesia. Sadly, Cesia couldn't help him as her own business wasn't working well. She wanted to help though. Still, Marcus kept showing up on time every day. He was doing it for food. He was doing a 2-hour job at the Abby's restaurant. On a payday, Cesia gave him his first income, and you will never guess what Marcus did next. "Once I pay him too, guess what he does?" Cesia mentioned on her Facebook page. She just couldn't understand why he does that. For Marcus, it was so generous of Cesia to offer him a job, so he decided to do something for her in return that was least expected. "He buys food from my restaurant. He decided to pay," recalled Cesia. Yes, Cesia did offer him the envelope discount. Why would he buy from her when he got the money from her in the first place? When she asked him the reason behind it, Marcus said the incredible thing that brought tears to Cesia's life. "Because it makes him feel good," says Cesia. It happened when Cesia couldn't even give him a full-time job. Some restaurants wouldn't even let you use their restroom, she later told in an interview. "I don't judge someone and how they look. Go use it. I do not treat homeless people any different," she said. If restaurants and businesses don't do anything to help the less fortunate, then they become part of the problem, explained Cesia. That's when she shared her and Marcus's story on Facebook's profile, and people loved it. Marcus and Cesia's story took over the internet. More than 8,000 comments and 200,000 shares. People were talking about the two of them. One of the comments read, "We need more people like this. We are all human. We make mistakes." "All we need sometimes is a helping hand," read another comment. Marcus has been living on the streets from the age of 16. He had seen bad days, and he was finally given one chance towards a better life. Yes, his path to live an ordinary life is way too long, but Cesia is helping him with it. Marcus helped Cesia out of her exhausted routine, and Cesia promised herself to help the homeless man. She explained, "I want to help him, but he needs to want to help himself. It's going to be hard for him to let go of whatever addiction he has." "People need to have someone believe in them," added Cesia. They have made a pact that 10% of Marcus's income will go straight to a savings account. Cesia said, "Just like Marcus, I had my help. I had plenty of people to help me make it where I am today. They believe I could do it. God gave me this blessing, so why can't I bless others?" Cesia posted on Facebook. She further added, "Do something nice for someone today and don't judge them just because they're out there asking for money, for we don't know their situation. Some deserve another shot." She added in her Facebook post, "This is what should break the internet. We want change. Well, start by making one." She became an ultimate example of what our world needs the most at this time: humanity.